Welcome to Shogun World, a beautiful recreation of Edo period Japan filled with spine-tingling danger and rich, vibrant characters who happen to share more than a few similarities to our gang from Sweetwater. It's a brand new neighborhood, but the same old story. On this week's Westworld, Season 2, Episode 5, Akane No Mai. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Westworld. So yes, of course, spoilers are ahead. Alright, a beautiful episode this week. Really just visually stunning. I have to say, the way that they set up the camera angles, the pacing, obviously the sets, the costumes, everything really felt like a Kurosawa film. Felt very classic Japanese look and everything throughout this. Loved our wonderful selection of Japanese actors. Really loved giving that natural feel to it. So it was just, really just a visual treat, I think, this week. And I love kind of our slow introduction to everyone. First we have Musashi, not really working with the whole Maeve power control manipulation here, whereas we can see, like Sizemore saying, is apparently this means that the Ford's voodoo bug has now drifted into Shogun World. So this is showing us how Ford's little virus has spread out. It's not just Westworld, it's everywhere. We caught the edge of Colonial World, India World, not sure what they call that, the other week. Here, where of course we're seeing those effects in Shogun World. And it's, like I said, great little introduction in with the town, and of course our big sort of discovery that perhaps Lee has been hedging his bets, maybe sharing a little bit of programming scenarios between worlds, seeing the whole robbery come together exactly like in Sweetwater, but again with that sort of Kurosawa edge to it, was fabulous. I love Painted Black playing in the background now with, you know, the Japanese instrumentation. Was just beautiful. Even the changes of dialogue, you can't touch a geisha, I'm still pulling aside before the safe falls down. It was just really beautifully done, and especially the fact that Armistice I thought was really cool, kind of noticing at first, even as it starts out, and she's like, this all feels very familiar. And even her counterpart on the other side, similar tattoo, you got a dragon, you got a snake, was beautifully done. And of course, our biggest connection here between Maeve and Akane, which was fabulous. And that really was a lot of reinforcing aspect happening here story-wise, how Maeve is seeing the parallels between her and how she's feeling with her daughter, and seeing Akane working with Sakura was really cool. Though, I mean, in some ways, the Akane Sakura felt almost more like Maeve Clementine, but that still same depth of emotion, how we're seeing the two of these characters really developing parallel. Maeve more awake, Akane, though, still with those elements of choice. And again, beautiful little bit of demonstration there as the Shogun comes in to demand Sakura. And Akane just stab in the eye. And Lee with this, that's not supposed to happen. That's sort of Lee's job, I think, throughout most of this episode, was to point out the obvious. It almost got a little redundant how he kind of kept hitting it on, but he also gave us a lot of interesting insights. Obviously, the idea of heading up to the lake, because that's where they can get back to the underground and get back over to where they need to go. But also that interesting insight about the effects of the hosts seeing their doubles. There was an increased aggression, suspicion. We have Hector going after Musashi there. I don't trust that guy. Just give me one word and I'll take him out. Meanwhile, you have Armistice and her counterpart just doing that odd strange thing. So again, it was interesting how each of these doubles react. Hector Musashi as sort of the rebels, villain, not villains, blacker hat characters working with suspicion. They're the warriors, where you have Armistice just sort of freaking out there, and then you have Akane and Maeve really bonding. So kind of three different reactions for dealing with their counterparts. Now, love is a common theme flowing through this episode. We, of course, have Maeve going for her daughter, that type of love. We see Sakura and Akane, and that kind of mother-daughter, also similar connection. And in some ways, we're also seeing a love, a similarity, bonding between Akane and Maeve, which I found interesting. Another continuing of their story, how Akane is sharing her story with Sakura after, oh man, that carving on her back, man, that Shogun went a little nuts. Not just a tattoo, but a carving of a cherry blossom tree on Sakura's back. And Akane tells her that story. When I was young, I heard all these things, and I swore that I came to this new world. All, of course, very much like Maeve's story. And they get that moment afterwards of sort of that bonding and connection of recognizing the love that each has for their child in that sense. And Maeve offering to sort of reprogram Akane, which was sort of interesting. She seemed to be using that little Wi-Fi bit, which we'll get to in a minute, to sort of change and open up, free Akane. Maybe you do a little reprogramming, kind of like Maeve has herself. But I don't think she went through with it. As Akane sort of pulled away, was like, no. Maeve seemed to make that choice, that respect level, that maybe you don't want to do this, maybe I don't want to pull you away. Some things are too precious to lose, even for freedom. And I think of that idea of opening up those eyes, losing that connection between Akane and Sakura by that reprogramming. It was sort of an interesting response, especially compared to what we see with Dolores and Teddy, who have their own sort of romantic relationship, love exploration going on in this episode. Teddy, much more friendly, nice, understanding than Dolores. I mean, we've seen that before when Dolores sent Teddy out to shoot Major Craddock there, and Teddy just shot the wall and let him run away. Teddy is not that type of person. He hasn't crossed that line, even as he is discovering this new world around him. And we have, I think, some nice exchanges between Dolores and Teddy here, both in the sharing of ideals, how to deal with the fly infestation, the blue tongue with the herd, sort of Dolores' way of testing Teddy, seeing where his ideas lie. Is he going to make the hard choices, or will he always go for the more merciful approach towards things? And that seemed to be a lot of their dialogue in this week. They had, that kind of beautiful moment, which I thought was sweet. Again, love between the hosts, really opening up those ideas. And I love Teddy's line to Dolores about their love and their relationship, that he has known her his entire life, which is true. His whole existence has been playing that guy. So he has known her his entire life. And that where she goes, they go together, eyes open. It's very sweet, it's very touching, it gives them that romantic moment. But for Dolores, that's not enough. And I have to say, I thought she was going to execute Teddy. When she was pulling away. I got to show you something. I didn't feel real good. Even when she admits that she does love him, and I believe that she does. That was her question. Is this a program thing, or does she really care for him? I think she really does care for him. But the difference here between Maeve's love and Maeve's even respect for Akane and how Dolores is treating Teddy is Dolores is insisting on changing Teddy, even without his permission, even when he rejects it. She gets him clubbed inside that nasty room with the tore up cow in parts. Again, thought she was going to execute him right there. It was really kind of nasty. But no, instead, pulls out her little tech buddy and has him reprogrammed. And I'm assuming upping aggression. Kind of like how Bernard took, was it Fergus? And dropped his aggression a little bit, made him the nicest, most moral man around. Here I think we have Dolores doing the exact opposite with Teddy, making what the technician said severe, drastic changes that could in fact cause some damage and cascade later on. So yes, while Dolores loves Teddy, and I believe that she does, she doesn't love him enough to just let him be. She loves him to a level, but then, no, I'm going to change you to fit what I need right now. I don't think she wants him to die, and maybe being more passive she's concerned would lead to his death. But also, I mean, you can't really change the people you love because then they're no longer the people you love. They're someone else. All right, now I'd mentioned before Maeve's little new Wi-Fi ability, and I think that that's an apt comparison here. If you remember a few episodes ago when Bernard was looking for Abernathy, he had talked about a short-range kind of a location Wi-Fi connection between all of the hosts to keep them from tripping over each other's narratives. And I think that's what Maeve is tapping into, that sort of low-key wireless connection between each host. And now that allows her to use her kind of reprogramming without using her words, which obviously, as we find later on with the mad Shogun, when you cut off the ears or burn them, I think, and they can't hear, language doesn't work. Though, especially, I did like that when they noticed that everything had changed, that the virus had moved on, that just speaking English isn't going to work. You have to speak their language. You have to be able to do it in Japanese. But obviously, if they can't hear, you have to find another way. But that does lead us to our Scene of the Week for this week. And no, it is not the Fairgrounds assassination there. It was beforehand, the ninja attack, which was just astounding. Why? Because it's classic. Classic Kurosawa, Japanese shogun samurai movie stuff right here. You get the ninja attack at night. You've got the great fight between Musashi and Hector kind of going at each other and then going after the ninjas. The great fights all around, a little gunplay, some great swordplay, really some nice bits going on right there. And again, kind of this new discovery of Maeve's, and how that opens up is her resting, sleeping, meditating, relaxing, whatever it was that she was doing, and starting to see the world around her, starting to see, you know, obviously connecting with Akane there. They got a very similar storyline, similar makeup. Seeing that connection with Sakura, which is making her think of her own daughter. And I think that's probably how it started, right? She's thinking of her daughter, that links her up with Akane and Sakura, and now she's starting to see the world around, seeing the ninjas coming in. So that was a great kind of opening bit there. And then, of course, we have the full attack. Like I said, we have Hector going up against Musashi, which was lovely. Again, those two going after each other. And then just the whole regular battle sort of flowing out. Great sword fights there. The whole bit with Musashi against the multiple ninjas. Again, just all classic. You have the beautiful lines and poses. The timing on everything was all beautifully done. And then we get at the end of this whole thing, Maeve's next sort of power coming up. And why? As a survival instinct. Would make sense. She's being choked out. She can't speak. She can't reprogram in that way. There's only one way to survive, so that sort of reacts. I think what she was tapping into just before to sense the world around her, she again consciously connected into that and told the ninja, release me and go impale yourself on that spike. Which certainly shocked the heck out of Sizemore there. Though, honestly, like I said before, kind of everything shocked Sizemore. But yeah, just a whole beautiful sequence right there. Incredibly well done. Great fights, great shots, and some nice new discoveries for Maeve's abilities. And then, as mentioned before, that obviously plays itself out well in that final sort of fairgrounds attack, which, you know, that's just sad. Okay, so the Shogun isn't free, he's insane because he's got a head trauma, kind of like Bernard, leaking that cortical fluid, kind of messing up. And I'm assuming not as severe as what Bernard's injury was. He was really losing it. He didn't have a lot of time before he had to sort of have that replaced. The Shogun here seems to be functioning for a while. And yeah, messed up, but still making some choices. Messed up choices. Killing Sakura right there was just so wrong. And I'm kind of hoping maybe the technician could bring her back. Dolores' tech was able to bring Major Craddock and his guys back afterwards, so maybe, I don't know. Does he have one of those little, not sure. No, Felix and Sylvester don't have one of those. Damn, that kind of sucks. Well, maybe they'll be able to find something. Real loss with that. But Akane's revenge, the beautiful dance. You know when he came up and she was reaching up for for those hair spikes there. Yeah, that's where you hide the knife. Nasty stab, cutting the head off. All the way around. Looks like around jawline and up. And, okay, that would be a really complicated move, but I don't care about it. It looked awesome. It was super nasty. And especially how the body got up for like 2 seconds to try to stand before falling over. Totally over the top, but really, it worked so beautifully. And then, of course, with what you would have thought would be an expected death, turns around, Maeve is able to reactivate her Wi-Fi powers, and blam! All the samurai attacking each other, and then there's a great few shots because they're attacking each other, and then as it got towards the end, the guys were running down, you'd see, it'd be like, attack the guy, and no one else around, stab myself, and just beautiful. And then, of course, we get our great final end shot there as the rest of the army is approaching, and Maeve just sort of picks up the sword and is like, no, I got some new skills. We're going to go at it. So whether she Wi-Fi's or she just downloaded the whole How to Fight with a Katana program, yeah, she's going to be, Maeve is the constant, commensurate badass, no matter which world she's in. Now, I don't want to forget talking about our opening scene we had for this episode, which is obviously taking place in the kind of now, the cleanup part. Most of the episode, most of the story we're being told here is happening during those 2 weeks between when Journey into Night starts and the sort of mop-up crew shows up to try and clean up. So that first part happening after the whole cleanup bit where they're pulling up the host bodies from the sea, what we had seen it drown there at the end of the first episode. And I gotta say, it's kind of nasty how they're dragging them into the mesa there and just sort of piling the bodies on it. It just looked like they're just dragging up meat and I don't know. It was really kind of disturbing. I know they're just hosts, but it looks like just people parts piling up. Especially then they just put them on a table and sort of melt open their brains, they melt open their heads so they can pull out their brains. But that's where we get the interesting part here. Is that apparently the control trips for about a third of the hosts they're recovering are all brand new. Never been used, never programmed, never nothing. Just like straight off the factory floor, there, off the production line. And what that sort of seems to imply is that a large chunk of our hosts, these are fake, these are bodies, these are just fillers. I think with those those are what Dolores is eventually freeing with her whole kind of purpose here. Because they did say that the mainframe, it was in the cradle, all of the hosts' memories, all of the hosts' programs, those were all destroyed. So all they have left of their IP, of all of their host programs, are what's in the recovered hosts. But since a third of those are all fresh factory brains with no any programming or no nothing in them, those are all lost now. And again, I think those are the ones that Dolores is pulling aside. Those are the ones that are worthy to move on to the next world. The rest of them are just sort of fillers. So it looks like the hosts are all dead, hosts are recovered. But again, for a third of them, think those brains are, what, in new bodies? Or they're definitely not around here. And if you think about it, if we tie into last week, and if Delos is actually trying to program people to go back out into the world, and Dolores has taken the brains of about a third of her people, possibly put them into new bodies, maybe the people faces have host brains in them. That's how you infiltrate the real world. Alright, just a couple of small things. First off, the Edo period of Japan, where Shogun World is based off of, that's roughly 1603 to 1868. So generally a little earlier than we have with India World or Westworld, but still a semi-pre-industrial period. Westworld, you've got trains a little bit more, same thing, probably maybe trains in colonial land, but still all very low technology, which I guess in the high-tech future, that's where you want a vacation. Oh, and obviously if Westworld is too tame for you, that's when you go to Shogun World. Alright, and our Hector counterpart in Shogun World, Musashi, played wonderfully by Hiroyuki Sanada, who I remember from Lost, but has been in a bunch of stuff. Musashi, obviously named after Miyamoto Musashi, considered to be the greatest Japanese swordsman in history. Just, you know, look, Sizemore isn't very imaginative with his names, but that name does also imply total badass, so there you go. Oh, and Dolores in Sweetwater, not just to reprogram Teddy, well, actually not there at all, that was just sort of a side bit, but there for the train, which, remember, Abernathy kept saying, have to get to the train. Well, here, she's repairing this train and stripping it down for speed, getting to the Mesa, which they have learned from their little capture there, security capture. Oh, speaking of security captures, all those guys in Japan, in Shogun World, yeah, tied to trees with baskets over their head. They're not rescuing anybody. But Dolores' captured security guy lets him know that Abernathy is being taken to the Mesa, so that is where she's headed next, in a train built for speed. Alright, well I think that's going to do it for us for this week. Looks like next week we're going to have, well, Dolores just causing more troubles. That's what she does. We'll see a new side of Teddy. And Maeve looks like she's going to be around in Shogun World a little bit longer. Still has to get up to the lake, get to the underground access to try and get to her daughter. But I don't think that she is quite done helping out Akane. So really looking forward to seeing where that's going to go. Anyway, so that's going to wrap us up for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you enjoyed this review, you know what you can do. Go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, also put them down in the section below. What do you guys think about this episode? Beautiful? Did you like it? Did you like all the sword fighting? I really dug all that. Let me know what your favorite parts were and where you think we're going. Where are the hints leading us here? Let me know your thoughts down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not. Quick, it's easy. Hit this button. You'll catch all the rest of these reviews. Plus, we're doing Fear the Walking Dead, Preacher coming up this summer. Don't want to miss any of that. We'll throw up a couple you can check out right here. All right, so that's it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.